Hey there, I'm Martine, and today we'll be reading about another Martin, Martin of Tours, from Stories of the Saints, written by Carrie Wallace, with pictures by Nick Thornborough. What kind of soldier is this? The other members of Caesar's army asked each other when Martin first joined. Is he crazy or is he just a coward? Martin hadn't wanted to join the army at all, but his parents forced him to because they didn't know what else to do with him. His parents were pagan, like most noble people at the time, but when Martin was a boy, he had heard about Jesus. Ever since, he hadn't wanted to do anything but follow him. Martin's parents thought that only poor people and slaves believed in Jesus. They did everything they could to get Martin to forget about him. And when they couldn't, they sent Martin off to the army with a servant to take care of him. Because Jesus acted like a servant to his own followers, Martin acted like the servant of his servant. At the end of each day, Martin took off his servant's boots instead of his servant taking off Martin's. And Martin cooked his servant dinner instead of his servant cooking dinner for him. One day, when the army rode into town, Martin saw a beggar shivering with cold on the side of the road. Martin jumped down from his horse, took off his thick army cloak, and sliced it in two with his sword. Then he gave one piece to the shivering beggar and rode off wearing only half his cloak. You can see Martin there, slicing his cloak, and the beggar. Look at that fool, some of the other soldiers said, laughing at him. He's riding around in only half a cloak. But other soldiers felt ashamed that they hadn't thought to help the beggar themselves. That night, Martin had a dream about heaven. Jesus was there wearing half of Martin's cloak. Martin gave me this robe, Jesus said to the angels who stood all around. When Martin woke up, his cloak was whole. Martin was a good soldier, but more than anything, he wanted to be free to follow Jesus. So one day before a big battle, he went to the emperor. Set me free from your army, he begged. Let me become a soldier of God. This isn't faith, the emperor said. It's fear. You're a coward. You don't want to fight. I'm not afraid, Martin told him, and I'll show you. Tomorrow I will stand on the battlefield between the two armies without a weapon or a shield. I know God will protect me. As you wish, the emperor said. Tomorrow you'll stand on the battlefield unarmed. But the next morning, the enemy sent messengers to ask for peace. The battle never happened. And the emperor decided to grant Martin's request and set him free. Martin set out for France to study Jesus under the great teacher Hilary of Poitiers. Along the way, a robber leapt into the road Martin traveled, brandishing an axe. Are you afraid? He demanded. I've never felt so safe, Martin told him. Whenever I'm in trouble, I know God is with me. Astonished, the robber let his axe fall to the ground. Tell me more about God, he said. And when Martin did, the robber decided he wanted to follow Jesus too. Martin studied with Hilary, then started a monastery outside Tours. He would have been happy to stay there all his life. But when the Bishop of Tours died, the people of Tours came to the monastery gates. "Someone is sick," they told Martin. "Please come and help." As soon as Martin got to town, he realized it was a trick. No one was really sick. The people of Tours had lured him out of his monastery because they wanted him to be their bishop. Martin had no intention of becoming bishop, so he ducked into a barn full of geese to hide. But the geese clucked with surprise and gave him away. "Please," the people of Tours begged when he came out, "be our leader." Martin could see how desperate they were, so he agreed. Some of the priests at the time paraded around in fancy clothes they bought with the church's money, even though the people they led were very poor. But after Martin became bishop, he still wore the same plain clothes he always did. And he still lived in a simple cell in his monastery. But now he visited all the people in his care. And everywhere he went, God did miracles. Martin kissed a man with leprosy, a skin disease that made everyone afraid to touch him. And the next morning, the leper appeared in the church, healed and whole. Martin touched a girl who was paralyzed, and she could walk again. He prayed for a girl who had died, and she came back to life. Since Martin was a bishop now, he often met with kings. Every time he did, he asked them to release their prisoners, just like he had once asked for his own freedom from the emperor. He pestered the kings so much that they started to avoid Martin, because they didn't want him to talk them into setting their captives free. Martin did so much good for his people that the devil decided to go bother him. So the devil dressed up in a purple robe and appeared in Martin's little cell. "Martin," the devil said, "it's me, Jesus. I'm coming back to Earth, but I decided to visit you first. Now bow down and worship me." Martin took a long look at the devil. "If you're Jesus," he said, "show me your wounds." He was talking about the wounds Jesus got when he died on the cross. He knew that even after Jesus rose from the dead, he still had those wounds on his feet and hands. At the mention of Jesus' wounds, the devil's face twisted in fear. He vanished from the room. Martin's faith had made him so brave that he even scared the devil away. The end.